So how do you explain this? Our buddy Steve Moore, who comes on this show, I'd say every few weeks we have Steve on. He is, of course, a former economist with the Trump administration. He worked for Donald Trump when he was in the White House with his economic policy. He puts up this chart yesterday that shows back in the 1950s, almost half of teenagers were working. Today, the work rate of teenagers is in the low 30% range. Now, I don't think you can compare teenagers in 2023 to teenagers in 1953. I mean, the world has changed. But what's interesting is that the numbers were fairly steady from the 1950s to the 1960s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. For the most part, that number kind of sat right between 40 and 50%. And then what happens, the Great Recession in 2008, and millennials were right before the recession, about 35% of them had jobs, teenagers, 16 to 19 years old. And then it drops to 25% back in 2008. And then ever since then, it's slowly been ticking up. There was obviously a massive temporary dip when COVID hit. But still, we're in the low 30s. And we've been sitting in this low 30s range for the better part of 10 years now with Gen Zers, 16 to 19-year-olds with jobs. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, what happened? Why is this happening? And I just put it up on Twitter yesterday. I said, why do you think this is happening? And we got a lot of responses. And here's some of the responses that we got on social media, and we'll take your calls at 913-408-7710. I got this from John on Twitter. Or X. Sorry, Elon. We'll call it X for you, buddy. Still can't get used to it. But anyway, John wrote to us on Twitter. He said they deserve more money. They feel they deserve more money than their employers are willing to pay, plus overindulgent parents. That makes as much sense as anything to me, John.
I have a question. I don't know if it's jumping ahead in this story. So we're talking about a percentage of teenagers employed over these years, correct?
Correct, yes.
But isn't that a percentage of a smaller and smaller and smaller subset?
No.
In other words, there are as many. I don't feel like there's as many teens today as there was when I was a teenager.
I don't know, but either way, if it's a percentage, it doesn't matter if there's.
I guess
more
I always
or
thought
less.
when I go in and don't see kids working, I assume they're just fewer kids.
Mm-hmm.
But then we're suggesting if that's true, there's even a smaller percentage of those.
Yeah, exactly. And
Right.
that's why the percentage is the number to use versus the pure number of teenagers that you've got.
Correct.
So
I
maybe
didn't know
there's
what the demo makeup
fewer
was.
teenagers, but you've got a situation here where if it's done on percentage, you still have a far lower percentage of teens today who are working than, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago at this point.
Right before we came back, I was joking with Mark. It's like, when I was a kid and I always talk about concert tickets and stuff or a T-shirt, I'd work 2 hours, at a couple bucks an hour, and I could afford my $5 concert ticket, and another $10 for a T-shirt just working a 4-hour shift, right?
Yeah.
And then now I don't know what you get, so I don't know that they're not being paid enough, but certainly the cost of things,
Yeah. The things they would want to go to.
I had an attainable goal, I guess what I was saying. Even when I was a kid and there was penny candy, you find a penny, boy, you pick that thing up, put it in your pocket, that's a piece of gum next time you're at the store.
Well, nowadays, you work for 5 hours and you can buy 1/20th of a Taylor Swift ticket.
Yeah,
right?
That was exactly the example.
How
long's a kid got to work to get a $500 Taylor Swift ticket? Right?
That's 50-hour weeks, 10 hours a week over the summer. So half your summer is spent saving money for a Taylor Swift ticket.
And gas to get to the concert.
Well, that's true as well. Sheesh. Sean writes here, Pete, many reasons they aren't working. Parents who cover everything and overschedule activities, including competitive sports targeted at college scholarships. Device addiction, including video games, non-teens taking on entry-level jobs. Those are all good things. Those are, not good things, but they're good reasons. Absolutely, device addiction, video games. Non-teens taking on some entry-level jobs. That is true. I feel like jobs that you would see teenagers take a generation ago are now being done by retirees as well. As kind of a way to just supplement maybe Social Security, income, things like that.
We're practiced in the dark arts of counting back change is the biggest reason.
Well, there's a bunch of people that said teenagers can't even count change anymore.
No, they can't. And so that's one thing, you get skill that sticks with you when you're my age. I might as well go there. I can work a register.
Yeah, exactly right.
This is anecdotal here, but my daughter Brielle, she just turned 11. Mm-hmm. She's been playing soccer for the last 6 years, and she just started playing competitive this year. And she's talking about maybe quitting in the next couple of years to become a referee so she can make money.
Wow.
About that.
So, yeah.
See, hey, you got a good one there. You raised her right, Mark.
I guess so.
See, here's the thing, too, right? To her credit, she knows she's not going to be on the World Cup team in 2032.
Yeah.
I mean, no offense, but, she's not.
Yeah.
1 in a million chance she will be, but, let's just play the odds here for a second. So, and how many parents are willing to admit that, by the way, about their kids at this stage of life?
Yeah, I was like, are you sure you want to do that? But then I'm like, yeah, might as well go be a ref.
Go a ref, make some money, learn the sport, and be a little entrepreneurial in spirit. I can appreciate that, by the way. That's outstanding. But how many parents have their 11-year-olds or their teenagers even as they get older, and they're like, well, we keep going at it with fill-in-the-blank sport, soccer, basketball, softball, baseball, football, and they might get that full ride too, fill-in-the-blank, Mizzou, KU, K-State. We got to keep them on this one track because, by the way, mom and dad don't want to pay for a full tuition at one of these universities as they keep going up in price too. So there's that factor as well.
Yeah, I said we put it on kids, but then the parents that provide, Just I kind of passed on what I was raised with. When my kid got to a certain age, he went to work up at the grocery store. It's like, okay, well, if you want the phone, you have to teach them that.
Yeah.
It doesn't occur to them magically.
No, it doesn't. Let's see. We got this on Twitter from Royal Champion. Pete, they can't perform simple tasks like counting change. That's on the list here. Making a hamburger, doing anything that calls for an attention span longer than 15 seconds. Oh, boy, that one stings. But it's also true. I think that's part of the equation. Al writes to us, high minimum wage, not helping the situation, much different cultural expectations about work. Society now convinced that college is better than actual work experience. Sports has also become their careers, in quotes. That is well said. Now, I think part of it, too, what are teenagers doing a lot of? They're on their devices. What are a lot of them wanting to turn into? Social media influencers, TikTok, YouTube. They spend a lot of time there, and they don't think about it. Like for kids today that want to be famous, they don't think about, do I want to become a movie star? Do I want to become, a TV star? Do I want to be on radio? They're like, I want to be a TikTok star. And they will spend a lot of time, and some of them will make it, by the way. They'll spend a lot of time on their social medias. And that's, if they're doing it for the right reasons, creating content, learning how to cut videos, things like that, that's not the worst thing in the world. It's just, are they doing it for the right reasons and not just like posting, half-nude selfies?
And I know we've talked about this before, but like my nephew, he's 16.
Yeah.
He didn't get a driver's license. He just got his learner's permit, and he turned 16 last November.
Oh.
And he just now got his learner's permit. So maybe there's some teenagers who aren't driving to get to work.
That could be it. But you know what? Get your damn driver's license, kid. Alfonso's in Blue Springs. What's up, Alfonso?
You kind of stole my thunder with the social media, but I think from the social media piece, I think they're trying to live a Kim Kardashian type lifestyle, which makes them not want to make minimum wage. Like my 9-year-old daughter thinks that I'm buying Lululemon pants for $75. She can keep on.
So she's dreaming, thinking that daddy's buying Lululemon pants left and right.
Yeah, so the rule in my house is at 10 years old, you're cut off. You get $20 a week, and if you want something like that, you got to have half on it. And most parents don't do that anymore.
That's well said, Alfonso. That is well said. 913-408-7710. Boy, I'm shivering thinking about Lululemon pants in 6 years for Claire. That I don't like the sound of that. I don't even my jeans aren't Lululemon price. I mean, geez. I'm going to be walking in here with holes in my pants when she's 10 years old because I'm spending too much money on her clothes.
There's too much reading to do. And I do the laundry, and my wife's, don't put those in the dryer. I'm like, I can't read all these tags. I just, everything in, everything out.
John just outed himself as the laundry guy, by the way, in the house.
Well, I don't do the reading on the label, so it's all cotton to me.
913-408-7710. Why are we at such a low in teenagers working? I mean, way lower than prior generations right now. 913-408-7710, 8:15 on a Thursday morning, Chiefs Day on KCMO. Go back even to, the mid-'70s with the boomers. Half of boomers were working back in the mid-'70s. Now with Gen Z, we got about 32% of 16 to 19-year-olds who have a job. And the number has been trending down dramatically. And by the way, it started falling off a cliff in about 2000 with the early millennials. And that's the fit to the cultural changes that we've seen where, 16-year-olds all now think, and their parents all think they're going pro in sports. They're going to get that big full-ride scholarship. They're going to be a professional athlete. And that's when it all started. And really, since 2000, it's been falling off a cliff when it comes to teenagers working. But it's still very low for Gen Z. 913-408-7710. This is in a poll that was put up by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and it was in the Washington Post. Steve Moore, our buddy, he used to work for Donald Trump as an economic advisor. He put it up on X yesterday, and we just shared it so you can see it there. Greg's in Olathe. Hey, Greg, good morning.
Hey, Pete. I just tell you, not long ago I was traveling, and I pulled into a fast food restaurant and got a sandwich or something. Anyway, it was like $6. And I gave the gal, a kid, couldn't have been 16, gave her a $10 bill. She gave me back $94. I'm serious. She gave me back $94. I just looked at her. And I said, you want to recount that? She said, why? Isn't that enough? I said, I gave you a $10 bill. And she could not figure out how to fix it. Couldn't figure out how to fix it.
She didn't admit, I thought you gave me a hundo or something like that?
No, yeah, I thought I gave her 100. See, that's what the register says. And I'm like, God help us. You can't figure out the difference between a 10 and a 100. She had to call a manager to figure it out. So I think part of it is training and, you're giving kids a lot of responsibility in these restaurants and stuff. You need to train them how to do it.
Well, what's it say, too, about the education system in this country right now?
Well, I wasn't going to get there, but, yeah, that's true. You can't tell a difference between a 10 and a 100. Just the sheer, just kind of looking at it, you know that something's wrong here, man.
Just look. Oh, my goodness.
I gave her a $10 bill, and she gave me change for 100.
Now, I'm just curious. It's really irrelevant to the story, but what fast food chain were you at?
It was a Taco John's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Which I like a lot.
Yeah. Well, I would like it a lot, too, if I paid $6 for something and I got $94 back. I mean, that's a great deal. You could buy a lot of Taco John's if you keep going there and you make $94 every time you show up.
In my defense, I didn't keep it. But
no, of course not. You're a stand-up guy there, Greg. I know you didn't keep it.
You know what I mean. I feel sorry for these kids that they're not properly trained, especially on how to count money. Kids that go into these restaurants, they can't count money back. It's crazy.
Yeah. Thank you, Greg.
Whatever's on the register is what they assume is right.
Here's what I could see. Thank you, Greg. That's great. I mean, sad, but great. I could see it where basically, they put, let's say, this person gets handed a $10 bill and she puts in or he puts in 10, I don't know. They put in an extra zero or something, and then the machine pops up saying, give them $94 back, and it doesn't even connect. By the way, every school, I know some local schools do this here, but every school should have Dave Ramsey in it as well. I know he's got a program for high school kids. They should all be doing that. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Think about this. We're spending like 15 to 20 grand per student in this region. when you combine the federal dollars with the state dollars. And kids can't count back change. And by the way, all the testing is showing that the test scores are not improving, especially in a post-COVID environment. I mean, that's a scary proposition as well. Chandler's in Overland Park on KCMO. Hi, Chandler. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me.
You bet. What's happening?
So, I am a millennial, and I'm not trying to play devil's advocate, but I will say that if you look at tuition costs, they have risen much quicker than inflation rates. So I feel like my generation and the generation younger than me, there's a lot of pressure to perform academically and athletically in order to get the scholarships to even afford going to college. Now, there's plenty of reasons why that is, and I'm no expert on that, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
As a fellow millennial, Chandler, I agree, and we've talked about that a lot. The cost of tuition has far exceeded the rate of inflation for going on 40 plus years now. But I think that's also excusing the fact that there are alternative options, community college to start in, and things like that. But you're right. The days of I'm going to pay my way through college with with a summer job. I mean, those days are long gone. You're absolutely spot on.
True. Yeah, and I'm just thinking that that's where most of these kids are spending their time is in sports or having to study harder for school, or you mentioned your point, test scores maybe aren't improving, but possibly they're studying a little bit more. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Chandler. No, you bring up very good points, and I'll say this too: because test scores are not improving, you can maybe get ahead easier if you're like, hey, I'm just going to bust my butt in the classroom because I want to get those academic scholarships, as many as I can get, to a fill-in-the-blank state school to lower my cost. That may be more worth it than, working a job for $12, $13, $14, $15 an hour. I get that, but something tells me that's not the majority. That's not the bulk of people who aren't working right now.
When I was a teenager working at Woolworths at Metcalf South, the cost of tuition at Baker did not enter my mind, right?
Yeah.
I'm working for myself, pocket money, et cetera. It didn't matter what other things costed.
Yeah, that's true. On the text line, hey, Pete, can you tell Greg to tell us which Taco John's he was at? I need a little extra money to cover the rent this month. Well, Greg's gone on the phone, so plus I don't want to put that Taco John's on the spot. And I don't want to have to look up when that kid's shift is, too, You got to get the right kid at the right Taco John's. Try to make $94 every time you walk in the store. I get a taco and I get $94. Jeez, it's a hell of a deal. Sign me up for that. Oh, brother. 913-408-7710. Pete, I'm a boomer. All of my class couldn't wait to get a job and have disposable income. Plus, we had to compete for the jobs. More kids than jobs. To earn a lot, guys had to bale hay or other hard work. Now they'll beg you at some of these places to come in and get a job. The one place where the kids always seem to be on the ball, though, Chick-fil-A. I know I'm biased in favor of them, but damn, every time you go in there's a lot of kids. And those kids, I'll just put it this way, they know how to count some change. I'll tell you that much right now. And they got a smile on their face when they do it, damn it.
My pleasure.
Yeah, exactly right. My pleasure.